Page 17, Pierrette and Pierrot, or Pierrette and Pierrot, and I don't know how to pronounce those things. You do, okay? In this piece, you will notice that we are using a grand staff. Isn't that wonderful? That shows a picture of it up above. The grand staff is 2 staves. It could be 3, but normally it's 2 staves. They're connected with one vertical line, right? And they have that curly brace in front. It's the curly brace that identifies it as a grand staff. Typically, you'll have a treble clef or G clef in the top, and the bass clef or the F clef in the bottom. That doesn't have to be. You could have treble clef in both, or bass clef in both, or whatever, right? In this book, it'll be treble on top and bass on the bottom. For this piece, look at the end of the first line. You got 2 lines, a thin line and a thick line there, and there's 2 dots, right? 1 for each staff. That is a repeat sign. That means go back to the beginning and play it again. Now, the definition of repeat sign is not exactly that, but that's pretty close, and it's what we're going to go for now. Go back to the beginning and play that part again. So the effect is you're going to play the first line twice, and only twice. You don't keep repeating, you'd never get done. And then we play the last 2 lines. Generally speaking, with the grand staff, the right hand, because it's closer to the upper notes on the keyboard, the right hand will play the higher notes, and the left hand, closer to the lower notes, it'll play the lower notes. It's just convenient that way, all right? No rule says it has to be that way. It's just, that's the way it works. Well, they've labeled the RH and LH for you in here. They don't have to do that. That RH and LH is not necessarily part of the music. They're just being helpful to you. So the right hand is going to play the notes on the treble clef, the upper staff, and the left hand is going to play the notes on the lower staff, or the bass clef. That's the way this works. Doesn't always work that way, but that, for the most part, that's the most common way to do it. So whenever you play this, here in a minute, put your hands on the keys. We're going to put both hands up at the same time, and we're going to leave them there for the whole piece. And when I say put your hands up, I don't mean out, stick them up. I mean put your hands up onto the keys on the keyboard, right? So let's try this out. Otherwise, there's really nothing new going on here. You got quarter notes and half notes and whole notes, and you got dynamics. You can do those. It's 4/4 time. We've had 4/4 time, so you're going to count to 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, and you're counting quarter notes. That's what the bottom 4 means. So it's all good. So I'll give us 4 counts, and we'll play this together. I have the metronome set on 60. If you're not familiar with metronomes, it simply means it's beating 1 note per second, because there's 60 seconds in a minute. So 60 means 60 beats per minute, or whatever. I can adjust that however fast or slow I want to go. So the right hand, they're telling you to put your 3rd finger on the F. So we'll do that. And the other finger's on the other keys around it. You don't have to push the keys down, but I like to, so I do. The left hand, over in the 3rd measure, is tell you to put your 3rd finger on that F, this F. And the other finger's on the keys around it. That's your hand positions. That's to start the piece. Doesn't mean the hands are going to stay there. Okay? Take a look at the 2nd line on the left hand, the 3rd measure. They want your thumb on the G while you're here. To put your thumb on the G, you got to move your hand down 1 note to here. And that's okay. You just move the whole hand down. And it's just 1 key. So try and get to where you can move it down without looking at the keyboard. You develop a feel for the keyboard after a while. Now in the last line in the left hand, they want your 3rd finger on that F again. So you got to move your left hand back up so your 3rd finger's on the F again. So your left hand's moving around a little bit, not much, just a little. So the question might be, well, when do I move my hand? And the answer is you move it before you need it, if possible. Always have it in place before you need to play the notes. Not always possible. Sometimes you got to move the hand and play immediately. Okay. In this piece, you can move it before you need the note. I recommend you would move it while you're playing the previous note. For instance, in the second line, when the left hand has to go down, well, when the right hand is playing, that last half note is playing right there. You can move your left hand down right there. So it's ready to go. In the last line, when the right hand is playing its last half note, it's playing, then you can move it back up and you're ready to go again. It's up to you. You can move it earlier if you want. It doesn't matter. You can move it any time. Just get it there before you need it. Don't mess up the beat. The beat flows. Also, if I haven't made it clear, and you don't have enough to think about, here's some more. As you play this, because some people struggle with it, try and play it without looking at the keyboard. Focus on the music, on the written music, and you see that note, you know where your hands are on the keyboard, you can visualize, mentally visualize it. Your third finger is going to play that note. If you put your hand in the right place, your finger is going to play the right note. And then as you go through it, you know the next note, you got to know which finger to use based on where your hand is without looking down at the keyboard. Now you might have to look down at first, but practice this so you can play this without looking at the keyboard at all. Play the whole thing without looking. Do all these, pretty much all these things. If it's different, I'll tell you that, oh, you got to look down to see what you're doing here. Sometimes the hand moves around quite a bit, and you got to look down for that. Otherwise, you don't need to look at your hands. It's kind of fun to watch them. It's distracting. If you see a note and you got to look down and play it, you look up, see the next note, and then look down and play it. Good luck. That is not going to work. So let's try this out. Hands where they go. 1, 2, ready, go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, repeat. 2, 3, 4. 4. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 3, 4, off. Let's do the duet. So you're going to play what you just played, and I'm going to play that teacher's part at the bottom if I can get all those notes in. I'm playing eighth notes and below, so don't let that throw you, okay? So you just think you're 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so just so you know. So put your hands where they go, here, and here, okay. 4 counts and we'll play it together. 1, 2, ready, go. off.